Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're back with the handicap analysis for this week. There's not as many this week, obviously because we're only doing the 1 week rather than 2 like we did last week, but also because I think some of the feature handicaps this weekend were abandoned, particularly at Haydock, definitely at Haydock because of the ground conditions. Haydock has a real problem with the ground, doesn't it? As always, I've tried to find suitable races for these horses. I think that's something so key, as well as just finding horses that are well handicapped. They've got to be running in the right races, and so many times we see horses running in wrong races, and both at group level and at handicap level. And I mean, there's some real big opportunities for trainers and owners in races that, you know, they've been to the track before, they've done really well, they've finished second or third in better races, potentially of higher marks, and then they go and run them at a new track that they've never been at before. And yet sometimes the prize money is worse or even the same as one that they could wait just a couple of days and go and actually run at a track. Now I know you could come back and say, yeah, but they've never been to this track, how do we know they're not going to perform there? Well, we don't know that. But what's the need to try to go and find out, unless there is a future race that you're aiming at and you want to find out whether your horse acts well at, say, at Ascot. They ran a horse at Ascot over 5 furlongs because they wanted to see if he would get in at Royal Ascot over 5 furlongs a few months down the line, whether that would suit. Fine. But when they're going to the likes of Hamilton, for example, where there isn't a race, I just don't understand sometimes why horses do that and then don't get aimed at the right races. But anyway, just a quick thing about these videos. If you do like these videos, when I make the tweets about them, please do retweet them. It does shows that you like the videos for a start, and also it does get us out there a little bit more, which is always really helpful. I mean, these videos are free for everybody, so yeah, it would just be nice to get a little bit more traction on the tweets I do make about these videos. Anyway, let's dive in, looking at horses that have caught my eye. Starting off with good old Classic, who disappointed at Sandown on soft ground. Soft ground, he finished 9th. Now, interestingly, he's now beaten 2 rivals from his last 3 runs on soft ground. He's had 27 rivals against him. He's beaten just 2. He does not like soft ground. Now, I know he won back at Newmarket July course in 2022 on soft ground. He went off 4-9 that day. He was totally expected to win that. On soft ground since then, he has really disappointed. So he surely needs better ground, and hopefully he can bounce back next time on better going. Where would I go with him? Well, I'd probably go to Goodwood. In a few weeks' time, there is a 7 furlong handicap for horses rated 76 to 95. He's rated 92, so he'd be essentially against lesser rivals. And he's been to Goodwood, I think he's been twice. He went here and here. Now let's have a look at these 2 races. So the first one was a maiden stakes where he was second behind the Foxes. Now he should have beaten the Foxes that day. The Foxes went on to do really well in his career. Classic should have won that day. So, you know, he would have proven himself at Goodwood. And then he came back in 2023 for a handicap over 7 furlongs. It might even be this handicap. And he ran okay for 6th. Didn't get the clearest of runs that day. And things didn't quite happen for him. It's, you know, generally I find races and I think, yeah, I really, really like him. If he turns up here, I think he'll run well. But I would need to see his rivals before saying whether I really fancy him. It's not this race because this race is for 3-year-olds only. He would return on this race, which is for 3-year-old and older horses. So yeah, I wouldn't be like, yeah, I really, really fancy him. But I would expect him to run a decent race at Goodwood. And we'd have to see the rivals before deciding whether it was one of my selections for the day. Moving on to the next horse, it is Alligator Alley, and I apologise if you just heard my dog bark. There was a slight noise outside and he goes mental at any noise he hears. So, the second horse that I like is one of our previous friends at Alligator Alley. They ran him at Doncaster last time on Friday, and that really surprised me because it made it well, the horse had been there 3 times before, and every single time the trainer had given an excuse as to why he ran poorly. He's gone again, he's finished 8th, and the jockey's come back and given another excuse as to why he's ran poorly. Stop going to Doncaster. Doncaster clearly doesn't suit. Things don't work for you at Doncaster. So I really hope they drop that and, yeah, try and find a better race for him. Now, unfortunately, I thought a race that would suit would have been the trying to take on Lord Ridderford again at Goodwood. Now, I think Lord Ridderford will take all of the beating there, but he would have, I think Alligator Alley would have at least been able to push him. Now, because he doesn't get in, because he's dropped £2 to 81, he won't get in at the Glorious Goodwood Festival, or whatever it's called. There is a race that he can wait for, though. On the 24th of August, there is this 5 furlong handicap for horses rated 76 to 95. Now, he will get in there, obviously, because he's rated 81. Hopefully, all of those that have been aimed at the Goodwood, Glorious Goodwood, have won or gone and done other things since, and it turns out to be quite a moderate race. And if it is, then that could be when Alligator Alley could bounce back and start showing some form. Just so often they keep running him at tracks that he doesn't like, or, yes, sometimes things don't quite go to plan. But I thought it was a mental decision going back to Doncaster, to be honest, to run again at Doncaster, where he's had 3 previous excuses for poor runs, and now he's had 4. Moving on to another one that's been in these videos. I think most of these have, to be honest. Korker, back down to 103, dropped £2 to 103. Now he's back down to a mark that I think he could be interesting in handicaps. It went over to the Curragh. It didn't work over at the Curragh. I understand why. It was a lot of prize money. Where do you go with him? Well, I'd send him back to Ascot for the Whispering Angel Handicap Stakes on the 27th of July. Now, he has been to Ascot a few times. He ran here in a 5 furlong. This was a... Let's actually load them up so we can have a look. Ascot. So he's been there 4 times in his career. The first time he was running a Group 2. Well, I'm not asking him to run in a Group 2. It's a handicap we're aiming for. He finished mid-division, finishing 9th. He still traded relatively short, 6.6 in the run. And it was just against superior opposition. He then returned for the Palace of Holyrood Stakes in 2022. And again, he finished mid-division in 11th. But you can see he never traded shorter than his starting price, which was 10.74. He went up 15 to 2 that day. Why did he not trade shorter? He fell out the stalls, lost so many lengths, was detached. If he hadn't have been detached and actually got involved, didn't miss the break, I think he would have gone really close this day. He then ran in a listed race. And again, a little bit slowly away, which cost him all chance. He disappointed. He only finished 7th, but it was a listed race. And then last time out at the track, he actually finished 2nd to Emiratiana. Now, Emiratiana was last seen running in the Group 1 at Royal Ascot and has done pretty well since. So Korker to finish 2nd in a listed race demonstrates that, for me, the track was fine. Just needs to jump out on terms. And if he does, I really think this Whispering Angel Handicap Stakes could be a good race for him. I'm hoping there's a big enough field. If he jumps out on terms, I think he will take all of the beating. If he doesn't turn up, I'm hoping Mon Na Slieve does turn up. Now, Mon Na Slieve disappointed at Doncaster, went to a new track. It didn't work at Doncaster. Probably over-travelled at Doncaster. Faded late on, disappointed back in 5th. It wasn't a bad race, but I kind of feel it needed Jamie Spencer back on board. I'd like to see him run in the Whispering Angel Handicap Stakes. Travelled so well at Royal Ascot when finishing 7th in that aforementioned Palace of Holyrood Stakes. I really think he would be interesting back at Ascot with a clear run. It's not going to be as competitive as the Palace of Holyrood. And if Korker doesn't turn up, then I think Mon Na Slieve would have a great chance. To be honest, if they both turned up, I'd probably be backing Korker. I think he will be finishing, whereas Mon Na Slieve might be stopping towards the end of the race. neither of them are completely reliable. One seems to go slowly from the start and one seems to get slower towards the end. But I think I would just be favouring Korker, that if he can keep up, he's better than a handicapper, whereas Mon Na Slieve might not be, and it might just be that the horse travels well and doesn't actually find a lot off the bridle. Moving on to Dutch Decoy, who's dropped £3 to 87 after being given a very strange ride at Hamilton. Yeah, I don't really know what Joe Fanning was doing here. The horse tanked his way into contention about 3 furlongs out, and it's at that point that Joe should go, look, I can't hold him anymore, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to make an effort. Because, you know, you've only got 3 furlongs to go. It's not like you've still got 7 furlongs to run and you need to hold the horse because otherwise it'd be tired, you know, and won't get home. They were at a point where we might as well go now and see what happens. Instead, he kept holding. All the others then said, we're going to make their effort. And by the time Joe reacted on Dutch Decoy, the others had built up momentum, and Dutch Decoy was empty because he'd been holding him back for so long. Sometimes letting a keen horse go is actually the best option, because at least you gain track position. When you're holding them back and you're not gaining track position and you're not actually and you're losing, you know, long-term stamina, what are you gaining? Nothing. So I thought that was a really poor ride at Hamilton on Tuesday, the 2nd of July. There was a race that Dutch Decoy had been entered in on Thursday, has been taken out of that, so isn't running. So where do they go? I hope to see on Friday the 16th of August to run at Newmarket instead. It's a mile handicap for horses rated 81 to 100, so should get in right near the bottom. It's this one here, the LB Group Handicap Stakes. Should get in right near the bottom. Goes back to Newmarket July course. Last time the horse won was on the Newmarket July course and was a comfortable winner off 90. So if he turned up off 87, you would hope that he would go very, very close. 2 to go. The penultimate one being Rohaan, who's dropped £3 to 99. Now, he has dropped significantly in the handicap now, and he's down to a mark that he can certainly start to win handicaps off. He actually won, what's that, 6 runs ago now, at Ascot, off a mark of 102, I think it was. Having been beaten in the Ayr Gold Cup of 104. Now, if you actually watched that race, really badly drawn was Rohaan. Down the near side, not particularly quick away, then had to make a huge move to try and get involved, still stuck out on the wing, came off down the near side towards the finish and ran on really strongly. The other horse who ran on super strong, really strongly that day was Al Bashir, and he has gone and won a couple of handicaps on the all-weather and is much higher rated now, whereas Rohaan is actually lower. Rohaan was rated 104 and he could run this year off 99. So off 104 he went off 8.5 to 1, didn't get the best of runs through and still finished 7th. What could he do off 99? And I'm hoping that's where they go with him, because he could potentially run at Ascot. There's a couple of handicaps at Ascot, and I think they're worth like 18 grand and 28,000 to the winner. Let's just have a look. Not this one. This one here. 23. So he won this race last year worth 23 grand to the winner. Could well go and win that again. But the Ayr Gold Cup's worth 92. I think that would be a much better option for a horse who ran well for 7th, is lower in the handicap, should get a better draw. You know, he's unlikely to be right stuck out on the wing again. It'd be very unlucky if he is. A better draw. And yeah, I think he would go very close in the Ayr Gold Cup. So I'm hoping we'll see Rohaan later this season in the Ayr Gold Cup. Just do what you did last year. Ayr Gold Cup, go to Ascot, and then end up in that Group 1 again. I don't think he'll win the Group 1. But he could certainly win the Ayr Gold Cup and even potentially then go and win that race at Ascot, the Ascot Iron Stand, and pick up, what, if he won both of those, over 100 grand. You know, nearly 125 grand for winning those 2 races. And I think that's perfectly within the realms for Rohaan off 99 and then a slightly higher mark.